Hi, I'm Jacob and welcome back. In today's episode, I'm going to show you how to build trellises.
Before I get started on the trellises, I want to show you how I finished prepping the raised beds. I started by using a tape measure and a pencil to mark every side of each bed at 1 foot intervals. Then I started the tedious task of nailing a small nail at each mark on every single board, making sure to leave enough room to tie string around it. After that, I tied off a piece of string and looped it around each nail to form a grid pattern on each bed. And there you have it. Square foot garden raised beds prepped and ready to go. Okay, now let's get started on these trellises. Every part of this project was built with 2x2s, and I started by prepping each board before I put them into place. I started by prepping the 8 side rails first. Each side rail is 7 feet tall, and if I had to do it over again, I'd only make them 6 feet tall. I started by marking each piece at 6-inch intervals. On the bottom 6-inch section, I drilled 2 holes into each piece. Then, starting at the 18-inch mark above those holes, I nailed a small nail into each 6-inch mark, similar to the way I had done on the raised beds. I drilled 1 more small hole on the top of each board to accommodate the top railing, and at the 12-inch mark of each post to hold the bottom railing. To complete the post, I screwed a 2.5-inch wood screw into each of the 4 holes on every board. Remember how I said if I had to do it over again, I would have only made these 6 feet tall? Well, this is why. After a couple of frustrating and futile attempts to do everything myself, I had to get creative. I enlisted the help of Roger, and we figured out a method that worked. With the bottom screw of each post screwed in, and the post laying on the ground, we fixed the top railing into place, and then raised it, and then screwed in the second screw on the bottom of each post. And after that, we were able to screw in the bottom bar as well. Finally, I cut a 45-degree angle and a bunch of leftover 2-foot 2x2s, and used those as braces on the bottom of each trellis. I installed the braces with the 2.5-inch wood screws I'd used throughout the project. I also pre-drilled the holes on each of the brackets as well. The last and final step, of course, is the funnest. I strung all the trellises with garden twine I got from Home Depot. It was somewhat time-consuming, but I find tasks like these therapeutic, so I enjoyed it. Except for one thing.
I was so close. I ran out of twine. Okay, you may have noticed that I put 2 of the trellises in the back of the beds, and 2 of the trellises in the center of 2 beds. I want to talk about that for a minute. The reason I did that is because the book Square Foot Gardening actually calls for you to put the trellises on the north end of the bed, like this. And so the reason is because you don't want the trellises, once these vines get going, to shade out any of the crops behind it, because the sun comes in from the south, as you can see, and so the north end of the bed is the best place for tall crops. However, I wanted to maximize use of my trellises this year, so I put them in the center of these 2 beds. Now, I think I can compensate for the loss of sunlight in the back of the beds by planting my taller crops like corn and okra in these 2 beds. We'll see how that turns out. I'm not completely sure it'll work, but we'll see.
Although it was a bit tedious, I'm pretty happy with the way these turned out.
That completes today's episode. Thanks for watching, and until next time, remember, every garden makes a difference.